So that's the company's SHÜNÜ, and SHÜNÜ, SHUNU, is how we pronounce it. But SHÜNÜS is one of the ways you say dog in Lithuanian, and my family's heritage is okay. So that's where the name comes from. But I'll do a little pitch here. So the bag is made from recycled water bottles, because I'm a big believer in you have to solve many problems with your product, right? We have a pollution problem with plastic, right? Let's be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. So that's recycled water bottles make the material for the bag, and the proceeds from it help benefit Canines for Warriors. They identified dogs that are in high kill shelters, because dogs are a big passion of mine. I always have a dog that was on death row at some point that they said is beyond saving. I'm like, no, I don't. If it's living and breathing, it's not beyond saving. And that goes for humans too, right? So
everybody, and welcome to this episode of Small Business Success Talk. I'm your host, Christy Smallwood. Welcome back to another episode that I am super excited about. It will not surprise me one day whenever one of y'all just walk up to me and go, "Are you super excited, Christy?" And I'm like, yes, I am. Now, mind you, I don't always wake up this way. This is not my norm. However, I tend to do my intro and my wrap up about the interview after I've had the interview. And so when I say I'm super excited, it's because I've already just now talked to this guest, and I'm like, yeah, it helps shift my energy every single time. These people are amazing. And if you haven't gotten something out of this by now, then you might need to find just a different podcast. I don't know what to tell you, because these folks are awesome that I have on this show. And I'm very, very much appreciative of those that help get them in my path to get them on this show. And my new guest is no exception to that rule. She belonged here today. She was exactly what I needed to hear. And what is going to be really honestly a little different for if you're a regular here, I didn't really talk very much, because everything I would have normally asked her, she just kept including it in that conversation, and it flowed so really well, and I loved all her stories. It's a really good conversation with my new friend, Kim Swanson, who is not only a casting director for Hanson Entertainment, which is her business, but she also, I did not realize, owns a dance studio and has a patent pending on a product to walk dogs with. So, multi-entrepreneur here. I was pleasantly surprised, absolutely thoroughly enjoyed the interview, and now it's time for me to introduce you to Kim Swanson. So, Kim, thank you for being my guest on this episode of Small Business Success Talk. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
I have been very curious. I did just a very quick skim of, because you came through a friend of mine, Catherine, and I know Catherine's background is all the entertainment business, which is not my normal pool. And so, but I love entertainment. I'm like, so I'm super curious. I noticed that you have casting director and you're built a business around casting. I never knew that could be a separate business. So
I
look at me.
at first.
Hey, good for you. So you just did it and just how did this all come about? What got you going here?
Okay, so first of all, I'm not a person of great religion, but I'm a person of great faith, right?
I get that.
I'm a big believer in the old statement, I had a plan and God laughed. Right.
Right.
So first, I mean, I worked jobs, working for other people, working for companies that were making millions and doing all that. And I was freaking miserable, going home crying. Like, I was a single mom. My daughter was at a daycare. I went home gripping the steering wheel, tears rolling down my face on a daily basis. And I'd get to daycare and try and clean up so she didn't see me so sad. And I'm like, this is no way to live, right?
Yeah.
The way it all started, I kind of become a serial entrepreneur. because that's not the only things I have. So I started off with, again, my daughter was very small. She wanted to take dance lessons. I was very lucky. I grew up in just with an incredible group of mentors that were just put in my path for me. I was a kid, I took gymnastics, but the only place close to us that had gymnastics was a 40-mile drive away from us. I lived in a really small town in Illinois, and my mom was willing to drive me once a week to, the next town over, because there wasn't anything in our town. And quite honestly, she wanted me to get fit. And that was, that was a way for me to do it. So I took gymnastics, but the place I took happened to be the home of, at that time, of the US Olympic team. So, so my teachers were our US Olympic team members. Like you just
What an opportunity.
right. From there, in gymnastics, they said, "Oh, we want you to take dance on a regular basis." And there was a gal who just moved back to her hometown. She'd been studying in California and in Chicago, and so I took with her. And then she said, I kind of feel like I've taught Kim everything I know. I need to take her to learn more myself. And so my mom let her take me with her at like 12 years old. My mom would drive us the next town over, get the Amtrak, ride the Amtrak for like 3 hours at 5 a.m. to get to downtown Chicago. We'd get off the Amtrak, we'd run several blocks, catch the L, ride the L to downtown Evanston, get off the L, run another 6 blocks to get to a dance studio. That dance studio was Giordano's, which Gus Giordano is known as the godfather of jazz dance. He's the real deal. Like, he was the person that people would travel from all the other countries to come and take class with. And I got to take class with him on the weekends, So I just had like one thing after another, these incredible mentors just put in front of me, just put in my path. And I was lucky enough to take advantage of them without even realizing how amazing it was at the time, because it's all I knew.
Right. That was your norm.
Mm-hmm. So after doing gymnastics for a while, my mom got tired of driving me to the next town over. So they were building a new Y in my hometown. So she got involved with that and championed to get a gymnastics team at the Y, a gymnastics program. And she got on the board at the Y. Well, oddly enough, my little hometown, it's a small town, Danville, Illinois. Even though it's a small town, it happens to be the same hometown for Dick and Jerry Van Dyke and Gene Hackman and Donald O'Connor and Bobby Short and Jim Gammon and Jerry Trent, like all of these amazing talents.
Wow.
Out of this one little town, right? And of course, growing up, you're very aware of that, right? And a couple of astronauts, by the way. Like one of the kids I went to high school with became like one
by
of
the way, just a couple.
Right. So like it was just this something in the water situation. Right. So growing up, I just thought entertainment industry was like a common thing. I didn't think that it was a pie in the sky thing, because I had people who showed me just by example what they were doing. I didn't know them personally, but by example, I was like, oh, if they can do it coming from our small town, I could too. Right. Sure. And it was that thought process. So oddly enough, when my mom was championing for this gymnastics team, she was on the board at the Y. And one of the other people on the board at the Y was Jerry Van Dyke. And he was living in our hometown at the time. And so I would get out of my gymnastics class and I'd wait for my mom to finish her board meeting. And then she'd walk out with Jerry. And then we'd go home and I'd turn on the Dick Van Dyke Show. And there he was. So, here I was this little kid and I just assumed that like commuting to be on a TV show was like a normal thing. Right. It's kind of like, you think that your teachers live at the school, right?
Yeah.
Like your thought processes are a little different when you're a kid, So I just thought that was a normal thing. I didn't think it was a big deal. Right. So that was really the kinds of little moments in my life that triggered wanting to go in the entertainment industry. Okay. So fast forward, I was living in St. Louis, divorced, single mom, working jobs I absolutely hated. And my daughter wanted to take dance lessons, couldn't find a place that I thought was appropriate. I thought, okay, they seem to either be super competition oriented and it's just competitive. And for me, it was an art form. I grew up with one of the greatest artists of dance ever.
Look at your frame of reference. Of course, there's not going to be anything that's matching that.
But for me, now I'm not dogging on competitions, but for me, that wasn't my world. And I didn't want to be a part of that world. I wanted my world to be shared with my daughter, that more artistic aspect to it. So
because you love it.
Right. I couldn't find a place that offered that really good artistic and technical training, but in a loving atmosphere. I mean, I was so lucky because I remember Gus like putting his hand on my shoulder and telling me I was good, and spotlighting me and saying, I want you to be my demonstrator. Like he was so encouraging, and it was never a time where a teacher felt the need to belittle you or embarrass you or tell you what you were doing wrong. They looked for the students who were doing it right and said, now, copy this. It wasn't, don't do that. It was, yes, this. It was such an encouraging, loving, artistic atmosphere. And that's what I wanted for my daughter. And I couldn't find it. So, again, God just put something in front of me. We went to a tiny little church, got a new pastor's wife sent out letters saying, if anybody has any ideas of any kind of programming, it doesn't have to be faith-based, but programming for children, we need to get new families in here, and we need to get families with kids in here. I want to hear your ideas. So I reached out, I said, can I teach dance lessons in the church basement? And they're like, we love that idea. So first year I had 8 kids. Next year we had 17 show up. Next year we had like 39 show up. And I looked at my pastor's wife, who was in kind of like a second mom to me. And I said, Diane, I said, I need to do something. She said, yes, you need to get out of this church basement and do something with this. So I went and opened up a storefront. And that was really the birth of my dance studio, which is still going. It's like 35 years in. And
Wow.
which is kind of amazing for a small business, right? And
Yes.
my daughter now owns and operates it. It was her dream to eventually own and operate a dance school. So, and she does an even better job with it than I ever did, right? Like she's amazing at it. So that is called the studio. It's in St. Louis, and it's going like gangbusters. Classes are full. She has waiting lists. Like it just, like over time, I think that it was the love of it, the love of the art form, the love of wanting kids to have a positive experience, the love of it not being a competition, I think resonated with so many families. And I think it also resonated with them that we started in a church basement, you
Yeah,
know?
that's very unique.
Right. I think that as entrepreneurs, we forget that other people, like there's so many people out there who want to be entrepreneurs and they don't know how to start. They don't, like, they're afraid. There's so much fear, right? So many people live a fear-based life, right? And they think you have to like get $1 million loan and buy this big place, and I have to have 400 students or customers or whatever. You don't. You just have to start, right? You just have to
Mhm.
start somewhere. I mean, my dance teacher back in my hometown that took me to Gus, she started in her grandpa's garage. I took from her in her grandfather's single car garage, right? And then she had this amazing giant studio at some point. I think they had like 4 dance rooms, and she had like 12 dance teachers that were pretty much full time, and just built this huge program, but it started in a garage, right? So many of the biggest, most successful businesses start in a
Start
garage
in a
or
garage.
basement,
Yeah, I
right?
just thought that. I was like, there are a
Right.
litany of them.
Mary
Yeah.
Kay started in a garage, you know?
We always hear about the tech companies, we get
Yeah,
that. Apple started in a garage.
right.
Great. But all of
So
the
many
other
businesses.
things,
hmm
yeah.
You're a personal trainer, start in your garage. You want to start a cleaning business, start out of your garage. Your stuff can live there, right? Like you don't have to start big and fancy. You just have to start. And so I was lucky enough to learn that by having the dance studio. And like I said, God just kept laying little clues in front of me. If you pay attention to the clues, they're there, right? And I also think that you have to be open to faith. Like starting a business is a leap of faith, right? And people say, but what
Yeah,
if I fail?
you know what? That's an understatement.
Right? Right. But and when people say, what if I fail? My question is, what if you succeed?
Mm.
Right? And I know
Which a
we've all
lot of people, we
that.
don't realize how scared we are of our own
Right,
success.
right, right. Okay. But I think we're even more afraid of the failure, right? But think that
Mhm.
through. A friend of mine said something really brilliant to me. He goes, okay, what if you fail? What happens? He goes, so will the sun rise tomorrow? I'm like, yeah. He said, will you breathe and live to figure out something else tomorrow? Yeah. Will you still have that roof over your head because you didn't dive in with $1 million location? Yeah. Will you have maybe some equipment or something you can sell off to pay off what little debt you have? Yeah. Okay, so worst case scenario, you're going to be back in your job you don't like, but you will have tried. And then you can look back and go, okay, I tried. Maybe that wasn't the success I expected or wanted it to be, but it was a success because I learned from it. What did I do wrong? What could I do differently? What could I do better if I tried again? Right? Disney is a perfect example of that. We've all heard a million times the story of Walt Disney, how he filed bankruptcy after bankruptcy, and everybody thought he was crazy, right? Arnold Schwarzenegger always says, look, if your dream doesn't seem crazy to everybody else, it's not a big enough dream.
Yep.
Right. So you just have to start, right? So yeah, so the dance studio is what happened for me first. I later on got remarried, had a son, got divorced again. I'm not good at the marriage thing. I'm good at being an entrepreneur and not marriage. I'm not good at picking the husbands that are right for me. So anyway, so yeah, so my son was in school, and of course he wasn't into dance like my daughter was, and he was needing some extra help after school and was kind of struggling with some things, and I needed to be there to help him with homework. It really wasn't working well as symbiotically as a single parent of him as it was with my daughter, right? And I don't think it was a boy-girl thing. It was just their personalities and their needs, right? So my daughter, when I started this dance studio, she would hang out at the dance studio. She loved being there socially and sit in my little office and do her homework and stuff, right? And she saw me working hard, which I think was also really good for her. And we were also together, right? So that was good. But I didn't want to just have my son with sitters after a long day of school every single night so I could run my dance studio. So started kind of handing it off to my daughter. But again, the universe presented something. There was, when I was pregnant with him, I needed to hire someone to help me teach classes during that time that I was going to be on maternity leave, because of course babies pick the worst times in the world to come. And he was due the first week of classes for the fall. So I knew I needed someone to cover that. So I hired a gal who was a producer by day, who used to have a dance studio in another state. She gave it up to go into producing, but she missed teaching dance. And she said, look, I can sub for like a month or two, but I just can't do anything long-term, And I said, that's perfect. That's exactly what I need. So she came to work for me and was there, as I was pregnant, we were just kind of melding her in a little bit, getting her used to our vibe and our students and our curriculum and so forth. And she came in really exasperated one day. She's so frustrated. I'm like, what's going on? She says, well, I've got this spot I'm producing and I'm not getting the talent that I need. There's a casting person in town and she's clearly not understanding what I'm asking for. I said, well, what do you need? And she told me, I said, who'd be good at that is Renee. She just got back into town from California. She's so good and she's so beautiful. You will love her. It's like, it sounds like you're describing her. And she goes, who's this Renee? Can I get her number? I go, yeah, let me call her and see if she's interested in doing something like that again. Because she used to do it full time. And so I called her. She said, oh, that'd be fun. Why not? And so she went, the producer's like, oh my God, she's amazing. She's perfect. I don't know how you knew, like you nailed it. About a week later, she came to me and said, hey, I've got a spot I'm doing for Boys Town. And, I need 5 kids that do da, 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 da. I go, who'd be really great for that is, and I let's just, oh my God, that's amazing. And so she said, oh, those kids were incredible. She said they were like knocked it out of the park better than any pros. Sorry, my dog's bumping the table. And then like a week later, she came to me again. So I'm really stuck. She goes, this is going to sound crazy, but I need I need a guy who can do this. I need a guy who can do that. I go, oh, it'd be great for that. So, so after those 3 projects, she said, you really should be a casting director. And I said, I don't know anything about casting. She goes, yeah, you do. And I said,
like, that's what you've been doing.
That's what you've been doing. And I said, look, I'm busy. I'm running my dance school. And she said, look, this is how much it pays. And I was like, wow. I'm like, I'm a single mom. This is something I can do during the day while my son is in school. Right. And it pays a whole lot more than teaching shuffle steps. So I said, okay, look, I'll do it for you. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'll do whatever you need me to do, but I'm not a casting director. She said, fine. Well, those first 3 spots all won local Emmy awards. So they play winning spots at the award ceremonies. And when they did, all the other producers are like, oh, wow, great spots. Where'd you get that talent? Did you go shoot that in Chicago? Did you go shoot it in LA? She said, no, shot those here in St. Louis. And they're like, oh, so you had to fly the talent in? She said, no. She said, they're all from St. Louis. And they're like, well, we've never seen any of them at our auditions. And she says, yeah, my friend Kim found him. They're like, wait, who's this Kim person? Is she a new casting person in town? And she says, well, she is, but she doesn't know she is. So I started getting phone calls, people saying, hey, I hear you're a new casting person in town. I go, no, I'm not. But I'll help you though. And they're like, okay, call yourself whatever you want. But yeah, that's fine, but just help us. So I started doing it on the side and was really loving it. Right. And I enjoyed it. And I thought, I need to do something with this, but I need to learn how to do it right. And that was before there was an internet, really, and I said, okay, so I went to this place that, a lot of people may not be familiar with. It's called a bookstore. And
Oh, yeah, I do recall those.
right, you walk in and they have actual physical books lined up and you can pick one and open it and read it. It's
And they were so beautiful and peaceful. It was
and they
great to go
smell
there.
good and they feel good, right?
Yes.
So I found a book. It was like, I can't remember the name. It was like 100 interviews with casting directors. I thought, okay, let me see what these people have to say. I'll learn something from this book. And I did. I learned a lot from it because I didn't have anyone to learn from where I was. I didn't have a mentor. But the thing is that the universe provides you with mentors in books, on videos. Like there are so many mentors out there. You just have to find them. Find the person who has already laid the groundwork for what you want to do or be, because they already created a roadmap for you. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to go find that map. It's no different than, back in the days before there was GPS and you were going to go on a road trip, you'd go buy the map. So you
Uh-huh.
go that road. That's what
Rand
you
McNally.
right, Rand McNally. That's what you have to do as an entrepreneur or anything you want to do in life. You have to say, okay, let me go get and find that roadmap. Let me follow that. Now, you might decide to take the scenic route, right? You might decide not to stay on the interstate and you're going to take the old road or whatever. And that's fine too. But you'll at least have point A, you'll have point B. You have to know where you want to go in order to create the line to get there, right? It's just like they say, like, who was it? I think it was Terry Savelle Foy said that, that she heard an interview, I think with Will Smith, right? And somebody had gone into his house and there were all these Post-its all over the wall, right? And they're like, what is, he goes, this is my next film I'm working on. They're like, what do you mean? And they said, how do you like put all this together? And he said, they said, how do you get to the end? He said, that's the easy part. You start with the end and then you figure out how your characters are going to get there, right? So that's what you have to do as an entrepreneur. What is your goal? What is that end goal, right? Here's starting point. Here's end goal that you're hoping for right now. Okay, what's the best way to get from point A to point B, right? So you have to follow that roadmap.
Now, are you the person that says, I know my end goal, here's my starting point. Do I go next step from starting point, or do you reverse engineer it? Like if I were landing at this point, what's the step right before that? And what's the
I
step
kind
right before
of
that?
do a morphing of both. So what I do is I look and say, okay, so this is where I want to be. Like, for example, working in film production, like I like everyone on Facebook, everyone at all the meetings. So, oh my gosh, the industry's dying. It's so hard. There's no work, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, this is awful. I think I'm going to change careers. I love what I do, but it's just not available to me anymore. Right. I thought, okay, first of all, I have got to stop listening to that. There are a lot of people getting really wealthy in this industry. That's all there is to it.
Well, and I'll just
I,
add every industry right now. There
right,
is
right.
that pocket of
So
people.
So how do the people who are making a lot of money, how do they make that happen? So I can do that too. So I literally went off of all social media, no television, even though I work in the television industry, no television. Like I didn't like leave. I decided to kind of quarantine myself for a month. And I thought, I need to figure this out. I need to create a plan, right? I may divert off of that plan. I may alter my plan, but I have to start with a plan. So I sat and thought, okay, how much money do I need to make per year to have what I really want to have in life? How much is it going to cost to get that house? How much is it going to cost to have that car? How much do I need to have back if I ever want to retire? How much do I need to pay? My son is studying to be a pilot. Like, okay, what are those costs? How much do I need to help my granddaughter get through school? Like, okay, what's that amount? What is that amount? What does that equate to per year? What does that equate to per month? What does that equate to per week? Okay, now I know how much I have to make. Okay, so then I looked and thought, okay, so how much does your time have to be worth per hour to make that? Right. So let's just pick an even number. Let's say I decided it's $100 an hour. Okay. So
I
I need
like
to,
easy math. Thank you.
okay, right. So I need to make $100 an hour in order to make that 200,000 or whatever that equates to, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So you say, okay, that's what I need to make. Okay. So what do you have to do to make that money? Who makes that money? How do they make it? Right. So, and how can I take that information and put it into what I'm good at? Right. So I kind of like come at it from both ends, right? You start with the first step of I'm going to sequester myself from the negative thoughts, the negative talk. I'm listening to motivational speakers every day. I'm working out every day. I'm working on myself every day because that's the one thing every successful person does is they make time for themselves. They get up early, their bed is made, they work out, they're eating healthy, they take time to think, to meditate, to pray, to plan before the rest of the world is even out of bed. Right. So you have to know that your time is valuable enough for that. Your dream is valuable enough for that. Right. So you you start from the beginning, the reverse engineering, the little Pac-Man, like gobbling away at all that stuff you got to do. And you've got this pie in the sky idea of where that wants to be. But now you have a really clear picture of what that is. I need to make X amount per year. Okay. So what happens is, look, we all like, I've been very, very guilty of it for a long time. And it took me a long time to figure this out was I would do my little wish list, at the beginning of the year. By the end of this year, I want to make X amount of money. Okay. And it didn't happen, right? I had vision boards and all the stuff, right? No, you have to be very specific. If I'm going to make this much by the end of the year and you put it out to God and you say, okay, God, I want to make $1 million by the end of this year. Okay. That's like a common thing I think a lot of people say in their wishes, right? I'm going to make I'm going to have $1 million by the end of the year. Okay. So what is that per month? Do you know? Most people don't. What is that per week? Do you know? Most people don't. You have to figure that out because when you say I want a bunch of money by the end of the year, what does that mean? Right? A bunch of money to you is probably something very different than a bunch of money to me. I have no idea if your bunch of money is bigger or my bunch of money is bigger, right? But if I go into a bank teller and I say, give me a bunch of money, they're going to go, what? You have to know what you're asking for, right? So if I go in and tell the bank teller, I need $300 and I think that's a bunch of money, then she knows how much to give me, right? If I go and I say, I need $300,000, that's a different story, right? You have to know what your bunch of money is, right? You have to know what that goal is. You have to be very, very clear. And then you have to be clear on what those steps are, right? Same thing, like if someone is like trying to get fit and they go, I'm going to lose 25 pounds by the end of this year, right? How much is that per month? How much is that per week? Break it down. What's the best way to eat an elephant?
One
One bite
piece at
at
a
a
time.
time. Right.
Right.
And that's what we have to do as entrepreneurs too. Right. So, yeah. So I think that that's important, but going around about too, like I said, kind of a serial entrepreneur, like I've tried other things that I'm like, this isn't my jam. It's not working. Like I had a friend talk me into doing like, oh, let's do these classes online and everything. And I'm like, I'm not liking this. This doesn't feel right to me. I don't want to charge actors for this. I end up just putting it up on YouTube for free so anybody can have it. Right. But I tried it to see, I'm like, there's too much minutia here. There's too many technical aspects to it that I don't know enough about to really oversee correctly. It's not my wheelhouse. And yeah, I can hire people to do it, but I don't know if I'm getting screwed or not. Right. So I want to do things that I know I have some control over, that there might be a learning curve, but I know I can grasp it and I'm interested in grasping it. Right. There are always parts of business that we're not interested in. Like, my CPA just sent over all my tax stuff and he goes, check and make sure this is right. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to.
That's what I have you for.
Right. But I also know I need to educate myself and I always want to be on top of, I might make mistakes, but at least I took time to read line by line by line. And if there was something that said the such and such, I'm like, I don't know what that is. Google it. It's not like business 40 years ago when I started my dance studio and I would have to write all my questions. I have to go to a library and go to the index system and find a book and find one thing at a time. Everything is at our fingertips now. The world is at our fingertips. There's no excuse for not educating yourself to get better. Don't ask the universe to make it easier. Ask the universe to make you better, right? That's the key. So I was working on the business and the casting's going great. And I'm very lucky, very blessed. I have 8 projects in different stages right now. I have friends who haven't had a single project in 3 years, right? But I think it's because I'm very clear in my vision and what it takes to do it, right? So like I realize that a lot of my clients are aging out. They are retiring. Some have sadly passed away. And I'm like, I had a great base of clients who fed me for a long time, but they're not always going to be here. What do I need to do to reel in that next level, that new incoming potential clientele, right? So I'm like, you know what? Need a new website. Let's have at it. So like I'm in the process of redoing that right now, right? But it's like getting that energy going, I think makes a big difference, because when you're working towards that dream and you're putting in the work and you are putting in the work intelligently, right? The universe says, oh, we see you. We see you. Okay. Okay. Here you go. Here's some more. We're going to give you some more, right? Like that's what happens, right? And I think it's a lot about energy. I will say though, that during the pandemic, being the serial entrepreneur I am, right? During the pandemic, I was visiting my daughter in the Midwest. I had 2 giant dogs. I'm going for a walk. It's cold, it's snowy, it's icky. I'm walking them. One poops and I go to pick it up. My phone drops in the snow. My keys drop in the slush. I'm like, there's
Oh, at
gotta be,
least the phone dropped in the snow. Sorry.
right, right. So I'm like, yeah, right. So I went back to my daughter's house. I'm like, I gotta find like some kind of bag. There's got to be like a bag that you use for walking your dog that would help me with all this stuff. Like I'm tired of trying to pull those rolls of bags out of those little tiny things of poo bags and like carrying bags of full dog doo-doo for the rest of the walk. And like, there's got to be a better way. So I go on, I look at all the big sites, the Chewies, the Amazons, the different dog companies. No one had anything. I thought, well, good grief, I'm going to have to make it myself. And so I pulled out a lunch bag, like a paper lunch bag, created a pattern. I had given my daughter an old sewing machine. I'm like, give me that sewing machine. And I started like creating one. I'm like, wait a minute. If I would use this, maybe other people would too. That was 5 years ago. I'm patent pending now on the bag and it's starting to sell.
So, this segment for being super, I really want to highlight a post that I have saved for years now because what I've done is I've gone in and I've created some playlists everywhere or boards or whatever you want to call it. I've saved certain things that really reminded me of somebody that's implementing a piece of the hero's journey, which is being super framework is based on that. So, a piece of that. And this particular spotlight, I really want to highlight this young man who is part of the Special Olympics, and he is just amazing. So this post was from 2019. He is part of the weightlifting team, and he says in this, I found it in the Humans of New York page, so it came across my feed at some point, and I just had to save this. His quote is, I have 20 superheroes that I keep in a folder on my phone, and I take it out to look at them, and I pretend that I am the leader of an entire superhero team. The whole team is counting on me to get as strong as possible because I am the muscle of the team. Being the biggest is like a way to take charge. It doesn't even matter if I have superpowers because I can use my own true strength. And the barbell is like a type of weapon. It's important as a leader to always listen to your team. Our whole team decided together that friendship is more important than winning. Nobody will be mad at me if I lose. They don't care if I bring home a medal. My family and my friends and Coach John and everyone in the Philippines will be proud of me even just for lifting weights. And this young man, it was part of the Special Olympics in the Philippines and just was super proud to be a part of it. But what I really want to focus on is the approach that he took. Those 20 superheroes that he keeps in a folder on his phone and his team, because I'm pretty sure those superheroes were his teammates that he kept on his phone to remind himself of why he's doing what he's doing in the first place. And part of being super, that being super framework, is understanding your mission and who the mission really supports. Who are you doing what you do for? Is it simply for yourself? That may not be enough to get you by in a day. But is it for your family? Is it for your teammates? Is it for the greater good? That is an element of being super. So take this young man's approach and put those superheroes in your phone, in a folder on your phone, so that you always have a way to remind yourself the reason you're doing what you're doing, the reason you're on the journey to begin with, this adventure that you're taking called life, the thing that you've set out to do right now, that definiteness of purpose, the mission. Who's it for, really? And if you take an approach like this, young man, you'll never forget. You'll always be able to have a reminder as to why you're doing what you're doing. So, that, my friends, is the Being Super segment for this episode. Thanks for listening. And you can find out more information about Being Super on our website so that you can also learn more about the Being Super, Being Villainous book, the keynotes, the workshops, the facilitations that also come along with the whole Being Super framework. I just want to take a minute to thank the sponsor of our show, 502 Hemp in Louisville and 812 Hemp in Clarksville, Indiana. If you are looking for quality legal cannabis products, they are definitely your source. If you have questions of what would work best for you, their educated staff can help you choose the best product for your needs, like they did with me. I was having some real issues. One, my hormones were raging and I was raging all the time, just not in a very good place. And when I went into the store and I expressed everything that was going on, they asked additional questions that helped them get me to a solution. And the solution meaning better sleep at night, my inflammation's lower. I have been able to just be a better quality of life with my whole mental attitude because these things work great. My preference is the Maria products. That is a special blend that 502 Hemp owners have created themselves. And I use the Ultra Spectrum CBD gummies, the blood orange. It's 1,000 milligrams. Like this is the potent stuff, like meaning it's the highest milligrams I can get. And I need that for what my system needs. You may not need that much. They also have oils. And so I love the full spectrum here as well, but they have ranges and according to what you're looking for to help in your body, they can help guide you in that way. So check them out at either 502hemp.com or 812hemp.com. Or if you're driving by, stop in one of the stores and they will absolutely be able to help you out. There's no need to wait for a medical dispensary to open. They have safe, reliable products now. And if you stop in a store, tell them Christy sent you, they'll give you 15% off. And not only that, but if you order online, 502hemp.com or 812hemp.com, and you put in that discount code of success, you'll also get 15% off. So check them out today. And I very much appreciate them being a sponsor of Small Business Success Talk.
Pending now on the bag and it's starting to sell.
Shocker.
Right. But again, like people see it and they go, oh, this is brand new. Actually, it's not brand new. I've been working on it for over 5 years to make it happen. Now, I didn't have $100,000 to go into research and development, right? I had to sit there and figure it out myself, right? I didn't have $100,000 to do a lot of 5,000 and hope that they look good and they worked right. But I could scrape up money for things like along the way. So like I was able to make like a batch of 200 bags with the factory, which is more expensive per bag. But the idea was if I can even break even on those, right? then I have proof of concept, right?
Yep.
And then it's easier to potentially get investors who can give me that $100,000 to do the big batches and pay for big marketing, right? I just have to do grassroots guerrilla marketing to make this happen right now. So that's the company SHÜNÜ, and SHÜNÜ, SHÜNÜ, is how we pronounce it. But SHÜNÜS is how you, one of the ways you say dog in Lithuanian, and my family's heritage is
Oh.
okay. So that's where the name comes from. But I'll do a little pitch here. So the bag is made from recycled water bottles, because I'm a big believer in you have to solve many problems with your product, right? We have a pollution problem with plastic, right? Let's be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. So that's recycled water bottles make the material for the bag, and the proceeds from it help benefit Canines for Warriors. They identified dogs that are in high kill shelters, because dogs are a big passion of mine. I always have a dog that was on death row at some point that they said is beyond saving. I'm like, no, I don't. If it's living and breathing, it's not beyond saving. And that goes for humans too, right? So the idea with Canines for Warriors, they take dogs out of high kill shelters, identify them, they train them for free, and get them into the arms of our veterans who either need physical or mental support because of brain injuries and PTSD and things, which, our suicide rate for that is an all-time high, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we also have a drug addiction problem. When we get a dog in the arms of a veteran, they can, on average, reduce their medications by 90%.
Isn't that amazing? That's amazing.
By a dog. A dog. It's so simple. We have so many dogs that need homes. We have so many soldiers who need those dogs. Like, I love that Canines for Warriors is chipping away at that mountain, so our company helps them. So it's just like, it's about, I talked to Danny Trejo once, who's an amazing guy, by the way. And he said, every success I've had, I look back and I realize it came right when I got busy helping someone else. He said, when I was down on my luck, if I didn't have a job, he goes, the way he got started in Hollywood was he was in LA, he was visiting, he didn't really know anybody, but he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his life. He went for a hike and he saw they were shooting a movie, right? And he saw them shooting a movie and he looked, he goes, wait a minute, I know that guy. And there was a guy on set, not an actor. And he goes, hey, how's it going? It's Danny. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. He knew Danny had been a champion boxer at one point, like a credible boxer. And he goes, hey, in this movie, we have this boxing scene and my lead actor has never boxed. I need someone to train him. We were looking for a trainer. Would you be interested in training? It was, oh, yeah, could do that. Be fun. So he didn't even think about it as a job. He thought about it as helping a friend. And that led to something else, which led to something else, which led to something else. And he said, whenever he was without work, he thought, you know what? I can't sit here and feel sorry for myself. Let me go see who I can help. And then boom, like an amazing opportunity would land in his lap because of it. So get busy helping other people. But that's kind of what entrepreneurs do, right? We see a need, we see what's lacking. And if you start out solving a problem, helping other people, then that's what leads to your success. So look for the problem, solve the problem, right? Entrepreneurs are just really problem solvers. So if you spend your time going, okay, I'm going to solve this problem for my potential clients or buyers or whatever, right? But then you also have problem solving abilities within the company, right? Oh gosh, this payroll company isn't really working. I don't like this. Okay, you're a problem solver. You know how to fix it, right? Taxes, you make a mistake. IRS comes after you. Okay, let me solve this problem. So it's, you're going to have problems. It's part of the process, but you also get real wins because you know how to solve a problem. You think it through, you figure it out. And a problem isn't really a problem. It's an opportunity to learn and grow, right? Every hurdle that presents itself isn't a hurdle. It's an opportunity to learn. The more you know, the more nimble you are, the better you get, the more you're worth for your company, for the people you bring to work for you. Right?
So Kim, this interview has already been so super fascinating to me because normally I have like this list of questions
And
and
I just ramble.
well, But in your rambling, you've answered like five of those questions. So I'm like, we don't have to circle back around to certain things that we've talked about. But I did want to ask you, like you talk about solving problems, all that kind of, which is great because that indicates to me you've had some challenges that you've overcome.
Oh
Like what
gosh.
is something that has just been like, yeah, that was a major life lesson. That was a learning lesson and a half. Don't do that again. Or what?
Oh, there's so many. Hmm. I think the biggest lesson I learned that took a beat to learn was I would get so excited about what I wanted to do and I overshare, right? I would let too many people into my circle. And what happens is a couple things. One, they tell you all the reasons why you can't or shouldn't or couldn't do it,
Ugh, ain't that the truth? Not that I
right?
don't have a good support system now, but there's still those
Yeah, there's
people
always
like, what are you thinking?
right. And here's the thing. They don't think it's possible because they don't think they can do it, right?
Hmm.
I mean, you think about, Edison creating like people probably had to think he was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, right? So like that's the thing is every successful person has had a ton of people behind them going, that's not a good idea. But by golly, the moment you succeed, oh, I was cheering you on all the way, right? We were best friends since we were in fifth grade. Now look at this millionaire, right? Like it's kind of amazing how people like they think that your dream is crazy until you make it happen, right?
Well,
So
because you had also said something that I don't know if it matches up, if it's synchronistic or not, but you sequestered yourself from that.
I did for that reason. Like there can be so much negative energy and people don't realize that they are bombarding you with negative energy. They think they're being helpful by agreeing how bad things are, how tough they are. They want to find somebody else who wants to be in misery with them, right? And they also want to find someone else who's in more misery than they are so they can go, yeah, my life's pretty good, right? So I don't think we can compare ourselves and be successful comparing ourselves to people who are more miserable than us. We have to compare ourselves against people who are doing better than us and go, okay, now what are they doing? I'm not versus, oh, yeah, they're not as good as me, right? Because look, you're always going to be in the middle of some pack somewhere, right? So I just choose to be in this pack, right? So that you never want to be the smartest person in the room, right? And people said that for eons, right? When you're the smartest person in the room and you're the only mentor in the room, you are in the wrong room. Now, you need to be in that room sometimes because there are plenty of people who threw down that ladder for me and then helped me up a couple rungs, right? And I do believe that again, karma, when you're busy helping other people, something good will happen to you. So when you're at a place where you're like, okay, I'm not in that room with people smarter than me right now. Okay, but you know what? Let me pass on my knowledge while I think about how to get in that room, right? Now, the great thing is, like we talked about, thanks to the internet, getting in that room means jumping on and watching a podcast like this. It means watching a motivational speaker. It means grabbing a book. It means, and readers are leaders, right? And leaders are readers. It's like you have to read. Like devote like just even if it's 10 minutes a night to reading something to learn something you didn't know before, right?
Mhm.
Make sure you've learned something new every day. I'm not perfect. I don't have it all figured out. I don't know everything. Like I'm still muddling along like every other entrepreneur, but you have to like keep moving forward, right? Sometimes you do a cha-cha, a couple steps forward, right? It's not always moving forward, and that's okay. Just put a little hip action in there and you'll be good, right? So
It's funny that you say that because I've been going through a season of change, a lot of transition, a lot of things have been happening, and our mutual friend Catherine and I will talk a lot, and the phrase I keep using is like I feel like I'm dancing this tightrope, like
mhm,
it's it's fun, like dancing is fun, dancing is free, free movement, but it's on a tightrope, right?
yeah, yeah.
And so yeah, the how how did you How did you find that really good way? Because you do have this seemingly natural way of saying nope to all the negative and yes to all the positive. Like, Was there ever a point in your life that you were like, I'm struggling to get from this point to that point?
Oh
Like,
gosh, yeah. Oh gosh.
okay,
And like even like this year, like I was really struggling, you know. I had worked on a gig. I was so unhappy. And I realized I was surrounded by a lot of unhappy people at that gig, right? It was a great gig in the sense that, like in film production, rarely do you have a job that goes on for years and years. This one did. I could have stuck it out. I could have kept going. But I'm like, this is just not healthy. Like all these people I'm surrounded with are not, there's a cut. Now, don't get me wrong. Some were amazing and wonderful and lovely and had it together. But the people I directly came in contact with quite often were not. Like, and when someone is miserable and unhappy, they want to make everyone around them miserable and unhappy. Right. And I'm like, I just can't do this anymore. I can't, this is not, you know, life is not a spectator sport. I'm not meant to come here and sit back and watch other people be happy. That's not what God intended for me. Right. If I'm not happy, this is not the spot I'm supposed to be. Now, being uncomfortable is different than not being happy. Right.
yes.
It's okay to be uncomfortable, to go, oh man, this was so hard. I can't believe I'm doing it. Like, oh, I can't. And then you take a big breath and go, if I couldn't do it, God wouldn't have brought me to this place. Right. And you have to just remind yourself, you have to be your own best cheerleader. Right. For me, I do it by daily prayer. I have like 6 pages typed out of favorite verses and things that keep me going. Right. What, you know,
Nice.
it's like what man will use against you, God will use to lift you up. What blah blah blah. Like, and then like, and I hit these verses. I'm like, oh yeah, that was yesterday. Okay, you know, God will pay me back double for the unfair things that have happened to me. Yesterday was pretty unfair. I wonder what I'm getting in return, right? Like those little things are what drive me and keep me motivated. When I first wake up in the morning, I wake up and before I even climb out of bed, my dog is snuggling with me, and I say, "Thank you, God, for this wonderful dog to snuggle. Thank you for letting me wake up. Thank you for giving me this roof over my head. Thank you for knowing there's food in the kitchen. Thank you for knowing when I get out of bed, I have clothes to put on my back. And thank you for giving me this day to accomplish even more than I accomplished before." Right? Like you start the day in gratitude. There's a doctor, Dr. Amen. I think that's how he says his name. It's spelled like Amen, Amen, right? Dr. Amen. He's a brain specialist. And I was reading a book of his, and it's really fascinating. And he talks about with people who suffer from depression, the thing that they found that helps the most is, I can't remember what they call it. It's something like positive thought training or something. It's a very simple thing where they say we want you to start your day by saying 3 positive things. And it retrains the brain. Your mind is so powerful. What your mind perceives is exactly what's going to happen. It's all about, and for those who aren't faith-based people, they've proven this scientifically that there's electromagnetic frequencies that our brains send out, right? And you
And it's
attract,
the neural pathways that a thought creates, and you have that same
right,
thought over and over and over again. That's
right,
where
right.
little ruts happen in your brain.
I mean, think about your brain, your soul, whatever you want to call it, right? Kind of like a radio, right? So if you're in your car and you turned on a radio and you put it to the country western station, it's because you dialed into that specific frequency. If you put on the hard rock station, you dialed into that specific frequency. We know that those frequencies are out there. We can't see them. The most powerful forces in the universe are things we can't see. Frequencies, gravity, right? You can't see gravity. Too
But
much
it's
of it,
there.
you're in trouble. Not enough of it, you're in trouble. It has to be balanced just right. You can't see it, and we just expect it to be balanced right, right?
We
So
don't even
we
think
don't
about it. We're
we don't
we're in
think
the
about it.
state of knowing when it comes to gravity.
But if it's not there, we're in trouble, right? It's the
Mhm.
same thing with all of the energy that you put out to the universe. I'm sorry, my dog's having a conversation. Um, so we put that out to the universe, right? And you put out that electromagnetic frequency of this is what's going to happen today. I'm so excited. This is what's going to happen. And you get yourself to that mental place. This is going to happen. It might not happen, but if you put it out there, it could. If you don't put it out there, it's not. You know. Now, I will tell you kind of a funny story. When I started my bag company, my SHÜNÖ company, right? And I wanted to work on getting a patent. It was going to cost about $25,000. And I'm like, okay, I don't have an extra $25,000 sitting in the bank that I don't have anything else to do with right now. I
Right.
believe in this product. I believe it's going to happen, right? I don't know how, I don't know where, right? And I was so emotionally tied to this bag. Like we come up with the name SHÜNÖ because of my Lithuanian family that had come to the US, they'd fought in the wars. I wanted it to help these veterans. I had all these ideas about what it was going to be, who it was going to help, the problems it was going to solve, but I didn't have the money to make it happen. And I'd had a Zoom call with a potential investor, like, oh my God, we love this product. It's amazing. Now it's just not the time. Can you call us back in about 9 months and we can consider it again? I'm like, oh man, I need this money now. I need 25,000 now, right? I kid you not. I sat down on my sofa. I looked at my laptop was in front of me and I said, okay, God, I believe this is divinely inspired. I believe you want me to do something with this, but you know, I'm not good at chasing money. You know, I'm not good at asking for money. I need your help with this part. So if you would please show me some sign on where this money is going to come from, I will be so grateful. And I know this product's meant to be. And I just took a big breath. I go, okay, well, I said my prayer. I opened my laptop to check my emails. And about 5 emails deep, there's an email saying, we're looking for people to audition to be on The Price is Right. And I was like,
Okay.
huh, that could be kind of fun. And so I applied. They wanted to interview me. This is because during the pandemic, they weren't just bringing audience members in and like checking to see, okay, who could maybe be good on stage, because they had smaller audiences. They had to have some people that they knew were real
Planted.
that they could put
Yeah.
on stage. They knew would perform and be fun and exciting and have a good time, right? So I did some research. I read up about it. I watched it when I was a kid. I remembered little things about it as a kid. I remember different stages, but I didn't necessarily watch it every day. I mean, I worked, you know, like I wasn't home to watch The Price is Right. So I like refreshed my brain on it. And then I interviewed. I was so excited. I'm like, because I thought, okay, God has a plan here. And so they said, we really love you. You know, we're probably going to invite you to the show. I'm like, that'd be amazing. I was so excited. And I kept hoping for it and hoping for it and hoping for it. And I'm like, if I go, like, I just have a feeling I'm going to win. I'm going to go and I'm going to win that freaking showcase showdown. I'm just telling you that right now. Like I'm not going to play. I'm going to win. Right. So I started like watching old episodes, like, cause you can watch them, you know, online now,
Yeah.
right? Watching old episodes. And my son's like, he's like, it's like you're in training. I go, I am going to do my job that day. I'm showing up with the intention that everything else is in place, right? And I was watching and watching, and all the episodes I was watching, I said, you know, it's like they're calling all the people that they like seat against the walls now, because you don't have an audience to climb through like you used to. They need to use up that music to come down and come on down and be excited. They need to use it up. I'm like I was like paying attention to those things, right? And so they called me and said, yes, we want you tomorrow. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah. It's like I rushed like a maniac to get there. And they want you to bring a friend. And I call my girlfriend Lily, and she goes, I think I can make it. Like I have a doctor's appointment, but I can come. And so I got in line, and Lily shows up, and I'm like, okay. We got there. I said, okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, if they seat us by the wall, that means one of us is getting called to come on down. I know it. I can feel it. Right. So they have us in a big old line. We're not the first people in line. But we get into the studio, right? And they pointed to us first and they put us against the wall. And I said, I'm winning this thing today. And she starts laughing, right? And I'm like, no, I know it. I'm winning today. I can feel it. It's happening. Like I just decided I was there to win. And I said, I need to walk away with $25,000. Right. And I said, at the end of this day, I need to win enough stuff worth $25,000 to pay for this thing. I said, you know, it'd be kind of fun to win a trip too, just jokingly. Right. Second time of calling somebody coming down, called me. Right. So this is the second time of the bidders row.
Yeah.
I got on the stage the first time, won that prize, spun $1 on the wheel, went to the showcase showdown and won that too. Now, when all was said and done, they said on screen, I won $42,000 worth of stuff, right? Now, I'd won 2 trips. You can't sell the trips. You have to be one of the people on the tickets, right?
Oh, you have to go on a trip.
You have to go on
Okay.
a trip. So I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to take my daughter and my granddaughter to Florida, go to Disney World, blah, blah, blah. You know, my granddaughter hadn't been. The trip was to Miami. So we flew to Miami. Actually, Catherine was a big help. Went to Disney World. So ended up there, right? And then I didn't take the other trip, just timing wise and things. I just forfeited it. But everything else I won, including a car, I sold. And then you have to pay taxes on it. Paid taxes. I was left with $25,000.
Of course you were.
And
That's amazing.
that's how I paid for the patent. Yeah. So like you just like I obviously I'm a big believer, right? You have to put it out the universe. You have to be on that frequency of I don't know how it's going to happen, but I know it is. It's going to happen. I just need to find the way. I need to find the map, right? Find your map.
Hmm. Hmm. I love it. And Kim, I very much appreciate this conversation because just where I am, this is how it happens for me. And this is one of my little secret reasons why I even do these things
Sure.
is because whatever my guest is sharing is always something that I need to hear. And so I'm wanting that for all of our listeners out there. I'd love to be able to continue these conversations. So a lot of those things that you mentioned with not just your own things, but the Canine Warriors, the things like that, we'll include in show notes. So we'll add some extra
Oh,
links
great.
here and there. Yeah.
Great. Love that. Thank you.
But I have one final question for you here.
Yeah.
I ask everybody, what does success mean to you?
Success to me means that when my physical body is gone, I want my kids to be proud.
I'm pretty sure your kids are already very proud of you.
And I want my kids to look and go, wow, she was a force of nature and she made this world better than how she found it. That's what I want my kids to say.
That is beautiful, Kim. I love that so
I'm
much.
sorry, this is so silly, but yeah. Yeah, that's what I want.
I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing
Thank you.
everything today on this episode. I'm looking forward to keeping up with you as time goes on.
Well, thanks. You too. I'm so glad to meet you. And to all the other entrepreneurs out there, keep going. It's not easy, but you are worth it. Your dream is worth it. It's all worth it. Just keep going. So
Love it. Thanks, Kim.
thank you.
I told y'all. And whenever she wants to be known as a force of nature, she is a force of nature. All of the things that she's doing, and she and I got more time in my proverbial green room after the stop the recording. I just absolutely admire this woman. Loved talking with her. And like I said, it was exactly what I needed to hear today. So I'm hoping the same for you. If you took some notes, write down some key phrases that she shared with us, the keep going. It and also I really, really, really loved the fact that she sequestered herself to remove all of the negative to be able to then really pump in not just the positive, but that which was most important for her to be able to build again and get back out there without all of the shit storms. Everybody else's shit storm is not mine. I don't need that. I don't need yours over here in my space for a bit. And who's helping that the most? Like in our conversation after the recording was done, I shared with her some of my own struggles and I in that for years I have put everybody else's things in front of my own as a priority. My clients, the boards that I serve on, the volunteer stuff that I do, everybody else got their thing done prior to me getting my stuff done, which means the things that I feel like I'm truly called to do through the Being Super framework, through sparking in entrepreneurs superpowers here so that they can lead and scale and grow their business with less chaos and more clarity. That's what I'm called to do. That is the vein in which I'm supposed to be pumping blood life into things. But what do I do is I'm absolutely dutiful and responsible and I hit all those other obligations before I even get to my own. And who does that really help? And then so she asked, that was her question. Who is that really helping? And like, well, my clients, of course. And she's like, but if you're not pumping life into yourself, are you really helping them? And I was like, huh. Again, right where I needed to be today. She came to me at the right time. We were supposed to do this a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, and things kind of exploded around here. I had to reschedule, and today has been the perfect timing for that. So, thanks, Kim, for all that you shared with not only the episode, but in the green room. And I can't wait for you guys to continue that conversation. Let me know what you think. Make sure you hit that like, follow, subscribe, whatever buttons are available. Please continue to engage with us, comment everywhere. Um, I will find it at some point and we will continue this conversation because I know we're everywhere on this podcast. And I think that we're getting ready to launch Substack too. So more places to look for us out there. Again, see you on the next episode of Small Business Success Talk.